In this lesson, let's continue working on the playlists page, and we're going to focus on the right side of this page, specifically those playlists blocks. Right away, I'm going to create wrapper element for that container with playlists. The playlist will be represented by the link because it is going to be clickable, and within this link I'm going to place article element with some basic markup. So right here we're gonna put header with a heading of the third level, then there will be a description of the playlist, and down here I'm also going to use footer with a list of texts that are assigned to a particular playlist. So let's increase the font size of this heading and also make it bolder. Then I'm going to add some description and a couple of texts inside this UL element. Alright, now that we have added all necessary elements within the first playlist block, before adding styles to this block, I'm going to change grid configuration a little bit, so the filters block covers a little bit more space. Let's make this grid to have 3 columns instead of 4, and the column with filters is going to take up 1/3 of the total width, and the section with a list of playlists is going to take up the rest of free space, which is 2/3. And the distance between filters block and playlists block will be 8 units. Now let's work on styles for individual playlist cards. This is the look that we are supposed to achieve. Also, please note that when hovering over this card, the border color will be changed. So let's get to it. I'm going to make this article element flexible container where all child elements are going to flow vertically. Let's also set maximum height to this article element in relation to its parent. Then I'm going to increase paddings, set it to 6 units. Add border of the gray color with a shade of 200. The corners will be rounded, and when hovering over this block, the border color will become indigo with a shade of 600. At the same time, I'm also going to style block with a description. Let's increase the spacing from the top. I'll make it 2 units. The margin from the bottom will be 6 units, and the color of this description will be gray with a shade of 600. And let's check the result. Now I'm going to add styles to the text that are contained inside the footer element. We also have to move the footer element to the very bottom of its parent container. We can do so by applying margin top with a value of auto like this. And then I'm gonna make those texts inside the footer to be positioned on the same line that are also going to be wrapped when there is not enough space on one line, and the distance between all those texts will be 2 units. And as for individual list items, I will set horizontal paddings to 2 units, vertical ones to 1. Then I will decrease font size of these elements. The font will be medium. The color will be indigo with a shade of 600. This list item will be fully rounded, and the background color will be indigo with a shade of 50. Alright, after doing this, let's replace the second list item with a new one, already styled. And there we go, we were able to achieve the desired look for this card. But now we have to position 2 cards in one row. So let's turn this whole wrapper, which contains playlist cards, into the grid with 2 columns. And the distance between all child elements is going to be 4 units. And now we're supposed to see that each row in this grid is going to have 2 playlist cards. But just because we have only 1 card in our markup, I'm basically going to duplicate the markup of that playlist card couple more times and change content of those cards, and eventually we're going to get the following result. That is looking pretty good. Now let's try to remove that empty auto class from the footer of the last playlist card and check what it is going to result to. And in this case, as you can see, when the description of one playlist will be longer than the description of its sibling, footers in those cards will be positioned in different levels. So to make them all be positioned at the very bottom of the parent container, I'm going to get back that class emptyAuto, which is going to make all footers with text be positioned on the same level at the very bottom of its parent element. And that's actually it. We have finished working on the second page. Link to the source code of this project will be in the video description.